Hello and welcome to the Let's Look at Read Through series. I'm making an executive decision to forego finishing the 3rd edition Player's Handbook simply because I was not enjoying it. I don't know if I'll ever play 3rd edition, but I would rather stick with the older editions such as this, the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Deities and Demigods. So let's just jump right into it. And we've got a name up in the top. Can't read it. Let's read the foreword. When work first commenced on Advanced Dungeons & Dragons fantasy adventure game, one particular aspect of fantasy role-playing was foremost in my mind. There was either a general neglect of deities or else an even worse use by General neglect of deities or else an even worse use by abuse. That is, game masters tended to ignore deities which were supposedly served and worshipped by characters in the campaign. Or else they had gods popping up at the slightest whim of player characters in order to rescue them from perilous situations, grant wishes, and generally step and fetch. Obviously, there is a broad ground between these two extremes, and that is squarely where I desired AD&D to go. As the various manuscripts were being written, I informed both James Ward and Rob Kuntz of the direction in which the overall work was to take, and then followed up with draft copies of the manuscripts. Thus, both authors were well appraised of the form and content of AD&D. Their work, the Deities and Demigods Cyclopedia, reflects the fact that they not only keep abreast the game as it develops, but they also adhere to the concepts which were instrumental in making D&D what it is. Deities and Demigods is an indispensable part of the whole of AD&D. Do not fall into the error of regarding it as a supplement. It is integral to dungeon mastering a true AD&D campaign. Experienced players will immediately concur with this evaluation, for they already know how important alignment is, how necessary the deity is to the cleric, and how interaction of the various alignments depends upon the entities which lead them. Those readers, not well grounded in ongoing campaigns, must take my word for all this, although they will soon discover for themselves how crucial the deities of the campaign milieu are. That's very true. In general, deities are presented in pantheons. You can select which ones, combinations, or parts of pantheons best suit your campaign. Players knowing which gods are real in the campaign world are able to intelligently choose to serve one or more, suitable to the character's alignment, profession, and even goals. Included are major, minor, and almost gods, demigods. There are also a few divine monsters and magic items herein. These are creatures and devices so connected to mythology that this work was the only place to properly present them. Not included are those minions of evil found in the Monster Manual and the attendant volumes forthcoming. Diabolical and demonic deities are important to the campaign milieu. Without evil, what does good have to strive against? It is no great matter to extract these things from the other works and include them amongst the other deities. However, the format used to present the beings in Deities and Demigods was actually developed through close consultation with myself. It was chosen for clarity and completeness of information. The reader can extract basic information quickly just by glancing at the statistics pertaining to the being in question. Greater detail is then presented in the explanatory paragraphs which follow the initial data. It is worth commenting that the strength and powers of the beings contained herein are appropriate for the overall work. Thus, addition of these deities and demigods does not imbalance the campaign. Furthermore, characters who become a match for them are obviously to be ranked amongst their numbers. No longer suitable for daily campaign interaction, but to be removed to another place and plane and treated accordingly. The authors have prepared exactly what AD&D needed to make it a complete work. They deserve praise for the excellence of their effort. It is also necessary to acknowledge the contributions made by the TSR staff, developmentally and editorially alike. The writing of this work was a long and complex project which involved countless hours of research. Both authors were willing to step back from it and allow the team at TSR to amend and augment their creation to assure that the whole would meet each and every need of the DM player alike with respect to the deities and demigods of the campaign milieu. Deities and Demigods deserve to be part of AD&D. It was designed to provide the much-needed information on how to include these divine beings in the campaign milieu. how to have the participants interact with them, and offers a broad selection from which to choose. It is with sincere pleasure that I welcome James Ward and Rob Kuntz into the AD&D fold. I trust you will find their efforts most rewarding to your gaming enjoyment. Gary Gygax, 1st of May, 1980. And I think editor's introduction, preface, explanatory notes. Standard amount. I'm just going to go back to my whole skimming through it for now, because that's just easier. Look at all this. Look at all these pages. Let's get to them. American Indian mythos. Sacred. Coyote. Although Coyote is responsible for teaching arts, crafts, and use of light and fire, he's primarily a bullying, greedy trickster. This chaotic personality makes him difficult to understand. As a trickster, he will usually be accompanied by a giant wolf or sometimes by a giant fox, wildcat, badger, or porcupine. Often his tricks will backfire on him. His role is primarily that of a cowardly thief. His followers will most often appeal to him to improve their thieving abilities or to be granted tricks involving illusion spells of fire, light, or darkness. Coyote can polymorph himself once per day, but is limited to the animal kingdom. Coyote will flee combat whenever possible, but when cornered, he will fight. He bites for 3 to 30 points of damage. Whenever Coyote is involved in trickery, his two favorite spells are invisibility and animate object. With these two abilities, he's able to make objects, including himself, disappear and move about. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to read the actual entries for gods, but I'm not going to read this whole paragraph here, this whole page here. And of course, I skipped one. Raven. The Raven is the great transformer trickster who is responsible for the creation/transformation of the world. Because of his great polymorph/shape change abilities, he can appear in virtually any form he chooses. In addition to a raven, he may also appear as a fox, a jay, or the moon. He will fight only as a last resort and then only as a giant raven. Although known as the great provider for mankind, including the giving of fire, the raven loves to play tricks, usually for the purpose of obtaining food to satisfy his ravenous appetite. He is most likely to intervene on the behalf of his worshippers when they are in need of necessities. The most successful way to appeal to him is by offerings of food. Okay. I'm trying to get the camera to look a little more down. Right there. Next is Hostilusti. Hostilusti. This god appears as a man, all of whose equipment is red. When he enters a tribal area, it is because he desires to race with any person and in any way. He never shows his godlike abilities, always running just a little faster than his opponent. His horse is a giant maroon animal and is enchanted so that it will run faster than anything it is competing against. Hostilusti cannot be hurt by any projectile or aerial attack. His hand axe inflicts 2 to 12 points of damage on a hit and is a +3 weapon. His throwing knife does 1d10 points of damage and is a +2 weapon. This god is sometimes symbolized by a massively muscled running horse, and his priests always have this image on their lodges and shields. And I'm going to butcher some names. I apologize. Like this next one. Hostazini? I think. This being is jet black and extremely ugly. He always appears wreathed in flames, the heat of which inflicts 2 to 20 points of damage to all that are within 10 yards of him. He is aware of anything that happens in any area that has a fire within 50 yards of it. The god is very fond of destroying villages by fire if they do not make sacrifices to him. All tribes fearing the god's wrath, especially in the dry season, will sacrifice food and fresh meat to him by burning these items at high noon. He uses a +5 shield in battle, and this item cannot be wielded by any other being. In addition, he cannot be attacked from behind. While in battle, he uses a bow that shoots a shaft of fire for 1 to 10 points of damage. Its range is a line of sight. His hand axe does 2 to 20 points of damage, and he often throws it at the strongest enemy he faces. His lance of fire does 3 to 30 points of damage. He never throws this weapon. When hard pressed in battle by more than 5 enemies, he will use fire spells of any type as a 30th level spellcaster. That's cool. Hang. There's a little crease in the page. No, little crease. Hang. Or Heng. This god is favored among all the Indian tribes because he can sometimes be relied upon to bring rain to those that suffer and give luck to those that hurt. His bow shoots lightning bolts for 6 to 60 points of damage per strike and has a range of 30 miles. His lance does 3 to 30 points of damage, but the god never uses it unless closely pressed in battle. Hang is made aware of the need for rain by his priest, who must sprinkle large quantities of water on the ground to attract his attention. If he chooses to answer the summons, Hang will appear in a rolling thundercloud as a braided warrior of the tribe that summoned him. The warrior that he chooses to copy for that summoning will have luck in battle for the whole year. Okay, I think I'm going to read section by section. Hiawatha. Possibly the greatest of all Indian heroes, this warrior can be found with many other names in many of the cultures of America. He is often depicted battling monsters and even gods on behalf of mankind. Hiawatha travels the rivers on a canoe that moves by itself, and the animals of the area talk to him, warning him of possible dangers. He fights with bow and spear, but his favorite battle tactic is to wrestle his enemy and bear hug him to death, causing 2 to 20 points of damage per melee round. Hiawatha seems to be a loner. He transcends the normal boundaries of tribal feuds in that he will help all people in trouble. He is a great peacemaker and defender of the weak. He fought the Great Bear of Death and won through hand-to-hand combat. He brought the plant maize to the starving by defeating the god who guarded its secret. Hoturu. This being can sometimes be influenced by the needs of humans for certain types of weather or the growth of crops. On the other side of the coin, he can utterly destroy these same crops and humans for any slight to his priesthood. He casts 3 lightning bolts per round for 2 to 20 points of damage each, for a range of 900 yards. If lightning does not work on his enemies, the god will use any fallen weapon he can pick up in battle. The god takes on the form of the chief of any village that he is near. While Hoturu is in this form, that chief will have a bonus of +1 added to all of his saving throw rolls. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze. Okay, better. Hold on, I gotta blow my nose. Okay, let us continue. With Hoturu, we're done. Quagwas. This powerful warrior can be found chasing and capturing horses and buffalo on the plains for sport and entering villages to test his strength against the best warriors there. He fights with a huge wooden club, letting his strength do the talking for him. A hero of the plains, he seems to exist to set an example for the best warriors of any given tribe to copy. Always the first in battle, Quagwas is also a favoring among women. Shakak. This white-skinned deity is able to bring any kind of cold weather at will. Oh, sorry, I was yawning. Those that sacrifice to him can often lessen the force of winter, but no one prays to this evil being for fear that he will come. Sacrifices always take the form of burning precious possessions during the dead of winter. While his form is usually human, his face is demonic with fangs and blazing white eyes. His body radiates cold, and those within 30 yards of him suffer 20 points of damage per melee round. His spear is made of ice and deals 3 to 30 points of damage per strike. When the temperature is below freezing, he regenerates 10 points per melee round. Snake Man. This god appears in the shape of a man with rainbow-colored skin. He always wears 75,000 gold pieces worth of jewelry. He ages at will and often visibly turns younger or older in long conversations with other beings. He can control all reptiles, and no reptile type will attack him, even if they are magically controlled in some fashion. This defense extends to fantastic reptilian beings, such as certain devils, demons, dragons, and the like. Instantly, he can summon 5 to 500 random types of snakes to serve him once per day. Sorry. Snake Man has never been known to attack beings with other than spells. If assaulted by creatures that are impervious to magic, he will summon snakes to fight for him instead of personally attacking. Stone Ribs, and if you notice, it's highlighted. So someone highlighted certain things because so was Hiawatha. This Indian hero has a cloak that enables him to turn to a halibut at will. Halibut at will, and is also able to shrink to any size he chooses. He attacks with a bow or club. This hero is famed for his great strength and will wander from tribe to tribe and fight the best each tribe has. Sometimes he will lose, and when this happens, he will stay with the tribe for 1 year and fight in their battles. Thunderbird. This giant bird attacks by biting with its beak for 1 through 10 points and bludgeoning with its wings for 2 to 20 points of damage. It can cast 1 lightning bolt per round at any target from 5 to 300 yards away. Each bolt does 30 points of damage, save for half damage. It is never surprised because of all the warnings that its superb senses give the creature. When it is ready to attack, its wings beat together and thunder sounds. The Thunderbird warns of great disaster and is often found fighting evil creatures of great power that have been summoned by the enemies of good tribes. This creature is never invoked, it always comes out of its own will and does not leave until the battle is done. It has been known to die in several battles against powerful beings, only to reappear again years later to confront another evil. And here's another one I'm going to butcher. Tobad Sistini? This god will usually appear as a massively built male, but he can shape change at will. He occasionally, on a whim, enters into battles between tribes that interest him, either by personally taking a hand or increasing the abilities of one side or another. His arrow strikes for 1 to 10 points of damage, and his spear is used only for hand-to-hand combat and strikes for 3 to 30 points of damage. Worshipping warriors promise him kills in battle, which are burned after the victory. Yan Alahua. Yan Alahua was the first of all tribal clerics, and he is able to summon any spirit god of his pantheon to his people. The priest is now classified as a friendly spirit and god. The friendly spirit and not god, and is invoked by Indian priests whenever they need an especially large boon from the gods. He's not worshipped as a god, but He is not worshipped as a god, but sacrifices in the form of magic items are made to him, and there is a 10% chance at each occurrence that he will appear and personally help out in the situation. He appears as an old man in rich Indian garb and talks very slowly. I wish I could talk slowly. But I think that ends it for today. So yeah, I was just not enjoying the 3rd edition Player's Handbook. It was very text heavy, similar to Unearthed Arcana. So I just decided to veto and move on to this book. But if you enjoyed what you watched, please consider leaving a like and maybe subscribing, and thanks for watching.